Welcome, 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 everyone, to the Women's Empower Network. I am so excited to have Candice here with us today from South Africa. We were just talking, it's all relative, talking about that it's winter there, and her high temperature of heat is my normal nighttime temperature. So I always find that interesting. So, welcome, Candice.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
Well, and we
Hello,
always start off
everybody.
we always start off with the same question. If you would share a little bit about your story and journey that led you to what you're passionate about today.
So, for me, my story, the best way to explain it would simply be to go back to where it actually all started from. My journey started when I had the worst breakup of my life that really left me completely broken. He broke up with me via text, completely shattered. I found myself drinking way too much, making so many wrong decisions, and it was most certainly not aligned with who I want to be and who I know deep down I am. And I was really spiraling emotionally. And so, yeah, my relationship with my family, my friends, everybody was suffering. And I just knew that I needed to find a way out of it, but I didn't know how to do it. And then one day I was just very aimlessly scrolling on Facebook, nothing specific that I was looking for, and a competition popped up on another person's Facebook to win a ticket to something called a neurotransformation therapy event. And I was like, what is this? I don't know, but oh well, let's see. So I read up a little bit about it and I thought, this looks cool. This is where I could possibly get the healing. Yes, I was a little bit skeptical because I was like, yeah, it might work, but it might not work. Anyways, um, at the time, I really wasn't looking to become a coach or anything or to start a business. I just wanted to feel better. And that was honestly my only goal at that present moment. So, how it started was there were 3 days, and each day was extremely long. It was 14 hours a day. And that I did some of the deepest emotional work that I thought could actually be done and that I personally had ever done. So, in this, we explored the healing at a subconscious level where we worked through emotions like anger, sadness, hurt, fear, and guilt. And we looked at all the emotional meanings that we attach to those feelings. And we looked at the depth of that painful experience. We got deep down to the point where there's lots of tears, there's screaming, sometimes throwing stuff. No jokes there. Um, and because all of that stuff is what affects your choices, right? You
Right.
have to figure out what it is that not just what you're feeling, but what those feelings are actually meaning. Because unless you do that, well, everything in your life is going to continue to be affected. You're not going to be able to be happy within yourself. You're not going to be able to be happy with other relationships. So, through all those tears and uncomfortable moments, something amazing actually happened. For the first time, even though I'd spoken to family and friends about what I was going through and what I was feeling, for the first time, I felt like I wasn't actually just talking about my pain. I was actually beginning to heal that pain without even putting my mind to what I was really doing. It just happened. It was incredible. And that experience honestly changed my life. Even today, when I go into hard situations, I just go straight back to being in that room with all those people, doing all that healing, and I'm right back to my empowered self. So
Nice.
so as I continued on my own journey and I started rebuilding my relationship with myself, I began trusting myself like I never even realized that I wasn't. And I stopped looking outside at other people for that happiness and that fulfillment. And I started creating that life and those relationships for myself that felt healthier and calmer and much more aligned with who I am and who I actually wanted to become. And somewhere along that way, I realized something so important. If this work could help me move from one of the darkest places in my life and bring me back my confidence and my self-trust, just imagine what it could do for other people. And that is exactly how Confidence with Candice was born. Not from some business idea, but from my own personal healing journey.
Yeah, it's beautiful. And I believe that it's so much more powerful when you walk the talk, when you've come through something like this, because then it's not just words. It's You can express it emotionally to someone who's in that place where you were, who you can relate and understand what they're feeling. And I think that's so powerful to come from that place.
Absolutely. It really amplifies it even when you like helping someone else through what they're going through, having that story that you've been there, you know what it's like, and you're walking beside them through their journey to help them to make it a little bit easier.
One of the things that really stood out for me is trusting yourself. I think that's a really big piece, is knowing yourself so well and knowing what you'll do and what you won't do, that you can walk into a situation with so much more confidence because you know who you are.
It's one of the biggest lessons that I've learned is you can go through as much healing and as much growth as you want to go through, but it's not going to stick unless you start with building that self-trust. Yes, it's going to waver. Things are going to happen, and you're going to question yourself. But if you have that self-trust, you're always going to be able to come back to your center.
That's beautiful. So, how do you work with people today?
So today I work with women who find themselves stuck in similar patterns to what I went through. Doesn't necessarily have to be a relationship, a romantic relationship. It can be any situation that they've been through that's impacted their self-trust. And a lot of women that I support are actually very self-aware and they understand their patterns. So we don't go deep into understanding the pattern because they know it. We go into what they need to do to be able to do the inner work to just reinforce that trust and stop second guessing themselves and just know that they are damn powerful superwoman. And how we do this is it's the main space that I work in. It's the program that that I put together myself. It's a private 6-week coaching experience called the Love Pathway, and it's for women who want to break out of those relationship patterns, whether it's relationships with others or with themselves, and start building real self-trust in how they show up in love, romantic and otherwise, so that they can feel more secure and grounded and make much better choices for themselves. So we work on things like understanding your patterns, releasing the emotional weight from your past experiences, rebuilding your self-trust and your self-worth, and learning how to relate from a place of self-trust instead of fear or overthinking. And for women who want to go even deeper beyond that level of relationships into emotional patterns, identity shifts, and long-term self-leadership, we can also even go deeper with the same modality that I use, but we can focus on your limiting beliefs. It's also runs for 6 weeks. So both programs are pretty similar, but one just focuses on your limiting beliefs and negative emotions, and one goes through relationships and self-trust. However, most women actually are more drawn to the relationship space first. Funny enough, I was quite surprised by that because that's where they seem to feel that the patterns most clearly live in their lives.
Well, that would make sense to me. I mean, because you pick up a lot of parents, a lot of patterns from your upbringing and experiences you've had when you were really young that affect your identity and who you think you are in the
Yeah,
world now. So I could see that. Yes. Well, that's
no,
amazing. It's, it's an exciting time because in a bigger cosmic view, there's been this global conversation. I don't care what country, what continent, what religion, what culture you come in, there's been this collective conversation of women feeling less than, be it the,
100%.
yeah, and so now having women like yourself who have gone through the intense training and the inner work to do that and to be able to teach others, self love, self trust, self respect, and move forward whole before they go into a relationship,
Yeah.
that their choices will be very, very different than trying to heal old wounds through the relationship.
Mm. And trust me, that doesn't work. If you take unhealed wounds, trauma, whatever terminology resonates, into a new relationship, it's just going to crash and burn and end the way it was before.
Well, I want to let the audience know that Candice will put her information and contact how to connect with her if you want to learn more about her experiences and her services, her coaching, what she does in her program down in the comments below. And I've loved that. I'm sorry that you had to go through it, but at the same time, I'm glad that it helped you become who you are today and that you live from that place of purpose to help others recover, whether, like you said, it was a circumstance or a personal relationship. But before we go, I want to ask you if you could share any parting words of wisdom with the group today. What would you
What,
share?
what I want to share with everybody is most women don't stay stuck because they don't understand themselves. We normally stay stuck because of moments in life that have happened that actually do matter, but they've lost their self-trust and they don't know how to get it back on their own and trust themselves so that they can act in a way that aligns with who they are, who they want to be, who they feel inside. And at that moment, things seem to spiral when you're in that state of not trusting yourself. And it's not in the huge dramatic moments most of the time. It's really subtle. It's in those times when something feels off in your body, but you ignore it anyway. It's those times that you say yes to things that other people want, even when it's not what you want and you want to say no. And also, it happens when you question your needs instead of trusting them. If when you stay a little longer in a relationship, a conversation, a job, wherever, then you should because you're trying to make sense of it instead of listening to yourself and you're trying to do what makes someone else happy instead of what makes you happy. Because over time, those small moments compile and they turn into a pattern that you're going to keep on repeating. And it's not because you're doing something wrong. It's just that you've learned to leave who you are in the moments where it really matters. And that's where everything starts to shift once you notice it and once you make the choice to work on it. Not understanding yourself more, not analyzing it more deeply, but when you learn the way to stay with yourself when it would be easier to not do that. Because the moment you start trusting yourself in those moments, that is when every single thing in your life will start to change. The way you love will change. The way you choose think everything will change. The way you see yourself is going to change, and that's the most beautiful part. And if anything that I've shared today feels familiar, then I don't think it's something that you should just sit with. That is usually the first moment where real clarity is possible, where things start to shift, and you don't have to hold it by yourself anymore. You don't have to try and figure it out all in your head. You can stay connected with me in a few places, which will drop down below. The best place to start, though, is in my personal profile, because that's obviously where I'm the most present and often the most easiest way to connect with me. I also have a private Facebook community where there's other like-minded women who you can also have conversations with, which I'll drop that link below as well.
Excellent.
And there's Instagram as well. And if you want to forego the social media stuff, because that's not for everyone, not everyone likes to be in groups, then I'll drop the link where you can book a one-on-one conversation with me. There's no obligation for it. It's just a chance to connect. I can hear a bit about you. You can get to know me a little bit more, and we'll just take it from there.
I love that, Candice. I'm so glad you're here and I'm so glad you do what you do. And, there's so much help out there now. And for the woman who heard their story and just had a nudge or an aha or could identify with any of it, I strongly encourage you to reach out and connect with Candice because it could change your life. So thank you so much, Candice.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. And I really hope that somebody resonated with what I had to say today. And it just gave them a little sense of peace and clarity and some calm, just to know that they're not alone. They don't have to do this alone.
And that's very powerful because so many of us do suffer quietly. So that's excellent. Well, thank you, Candice.
Thank you so much.